Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's Writers Chat. We are so good to see all our writers friends here. So we gather together as a community and we talk about writing for writers and by writers. And we are excited today to have part 2 of our critiquing our bios that we use. We have a special guest. Edie's back with us, and it's going to be a little different format today. So I'm going to turn it over to Melissa to explain to us kind of what we're doing today. And we've invited everybody, if you're in the chat, if you want to stay on camera, you can. If not, keep active with any questions that you got in the chat. So Melissa.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Writers Chat, and we have Edie Melson back with us, going to do live critiques of bios today. And if you're just now joining us live, I have put a file in Facebook that Edie has given us that gives a kind of rundown of everything and has the bios that are going to be up for critique today. Is there anything else in that file that I am missing, Edie, that's in there other than just the general?
It starts with some general tips and one thing that I forgot to mention yesterday. So there's a note section at the top and then it goes into the bios, and I have labeled each bio because not everybody has their name in their bio.
Oh, good tip for today. So yes, if you're joining us live, you can head over to the Facebook group. I put the link in the chat here. I'll put it in again for those who might have missed it. And you can go there and download it, so you have that handy. And yeah, I guess we'll just jump right in if you're ready to do that.
I am ready and I am excited. All of you had really good components in your bios, and there were a lot of you who submitted bios. So when I was going through and doing the track changes, I tracked the changes that needed to be changed. I'm going to make the comments about what you did right here because I was pressed for time. So please forgive me. I am not always a touchy-feely nice person. I'm sort of a cut to the chase person. But I want to say up front, I didn't find any bio that I was appalled by or that I saw major issues with. And everything I say is a suggestion. Any critiquer worth their salt is going to offer suggestions, okay? That's why you want to limit the number of people who do critiques on something like this, because they're all going to have a different opinion. And so you need to make sure, and I listed mine as Edie's suggestions. I have to tell you, I got my one sheet critiqued and by 3 very knowledgeable speakers, my speaker one sheet, and they all 3 had very different opinions. And so I took some of them and I didn't take others. So my caveat is pray about what I tell you, decide if it works for you, and remember that God put you in charge of walking out your story with him, and that includes your bio. Okay, so now I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get right to this. The ladies are going to be monitoring the chat, and so you can raise your hand or whatever you need if you need to stop me for clarification. There are some general things that I've found that applied to most of the bios. Some of you did this well, some of you missed some things. The first one is always hyperlink familiar words. Like if you're going to Facebook, hyperlink Facebook. Don't post the whole ugly link in your bio. Okay. And I'll show you more about what that looks like. Now, there are some people who will request a bio without links, and it's very easy to go through, copy and paste your bio, and then just remove the links. Okay. But even with that, you still don't want those ugly links that say www or https:// that's just ugly. So don't do that. Organize your material logically. Don't jump from encouraging women in speaking to teaching writing and then back to encouraging women. Group your stuff logically and together and move from one piece of expertise or one thought to the other. Don't jump around. Use correct formatting for books and series. That means italicize your book titles, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about that. Also, when you're writing out your website, like YvonneOrtega.org or .com, you would capitalize the Y in Yvonne and the O in Ortega. Now, it doesn't matter online whether they're capitalized or not, but as I'm reading them, they're much easier to read that way instead of keeping everything lowercase. If you're mentioning specific networks, go ahead and link to your profiles. In other words, if you find it necessary to say, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, don't just say it, link to your profile. If you mention websites and publications where you're a vital team member, several of you mentioned Serious Writer, you should have a link. Those words, Serious Writer, should lead the person who reads the bio to the Serious Writer website. Now, if I'm just saying I've written for Focus on the Family, I'm not going to link to that because it's not specific to me. But if you're representing an organization, like I'm a board member of ASA, the Advanced Writers and Speakers Association. I'm always going to hyperlink ASA so that if someone's curious about that, they can click on it. Remember to tell us about yourself, not about where you live. Okay. People want to connect with you as a person. And the other thing that I actually didn't put in here, or if I did, I didn't list it. Always use your name. Always begin with your name. So people don't have to try to figure out, oh, now who was this, and go searching for your name. Okay, an additional tip is your email signature line, you know, where you list your books and things, that is considered a mini bio. Make sure that is up to date as well. And it's a great place, if you have room, to use your tagline. My tagline is find your voice, live your story. So I could easily use that in my signature line or sig line on my emails. Okay. All right. So we're going to start by picking on poor Melissa. We picked on her last. This is what she sent. And this is what I came up with. Okay. Let's see. I am going to open a new document so I can put these side by side. There we go. Okay. These are my suggestions on the right, and this is what she originally had. You'll notice that she started with fueled by her love for storytelling and history, and then her name. A lot of times people who use your bio want your name first, and it's just a thing. So I changed that. I put Melissa Stroh, MN Stroh, is fueled by her love of storytelling and history. See, I pulled that from, where is it? Oh, here, I moved that around. She writes Christian historical fiction with an edge to inspire the downtrodden and outcast through adventure-laden escapes, leading them back to their first love. All right, so I shortened this sentence from this. This is all one sentence. And it's very hard to read because of that. Okay. I just moved her title of her book further down. and I made it kind of a fun thing. Apart from forays into Viking era Ireland, found currently in her Tale of the Clans series, Emin serves as director of communications for Serious Writers, etc. This is where I would hyperlink these. I would hyperlink Serious Writer. I would hyperlink the book club, ACFW, and ACFW. Okay.
Pardon me, shouldn't that "sirs" and the second paragraph be in lowercase?
Yes, it would be in lowercase. As I cut and pasted these, some of the stuff is wonky, so I apologize for that. Okay, then we go on here. When not steeped in writing, MN prefers to spend her days with her husband and 3 children on their family ranch in Wyoming. And then I shortened your website so it's easier to read and just hyperlinked it instead of this messy link here. And I have an and discover all of her books on her Amazon author page. Okay. You don't want it to be they either go to your website or Amazon. We want them to go both places. Okay. You could even say, and discover all her books by following her Amazon author page. Okay. And then again, I shortened it to the clan newsletter and hyperlinked it. Okay, so that gives you an idea of how to change that so that it flows a little bit better. I didn't do a lot of tweaking. A lot of your phrases, you have some good sound bites in there. I just rearranged it. Okay, now on this document, where I have my changes in red, a lot of times I didn't just italicize something, I also bolded it. And the reason I did that was for readability only, because the whole thing is underlined and the whole thing is red, and you're never going to find the hyperlinks if I don't call attention. I'm not saying that in your bio you should bold your hyperlinks or italicize them. But that just made them stand out because I had to do something so you could read it. Okay. All right. Ladies, are there any other questions?
I did have one quick question. I know how to hyperlink in a Word document. Do these need to be hyperlinked when you put them in like an email when you're submitting to someone? And if so, how would you do that? Do they just translate directly in most emails, or?
They translate directly, but your email has a place. Do you use Gmail or like even in Gmail, you highlight that? Well, I can show you real quick. Let me see. We are in the way again. Okay, don't judge me for my email. Just saying. Okay. No judging here. All right. So if I wanted to ediemelson.com, I would highlight that and I would click this link right down here. Do you see that?
The attacher.
Oh, sorry. The insert link.
Okay, there we go. All right.
And if that's not showing, then you can click one of these buttons and it'll come back up. Okay. But most emails have that option. I don't know of any actually that don't have that option. Okay.
All right.
All right. Any other questions?
We did have one in the chat. I am looking back. Oh, Catherine just wanted some specification on the point of view in these ones, whether it needed to be first person or third person.
Okay, one of the things I talked about last week was that you generally want your bio to be in third person unless you happen to write first person YA. Or sometimes on social media, a first person bio is fine, but in general, I'm going through our traditional third person bio. So it depends on, if you write fiction and primarily only write in first person, then it is fine to do a first person bio most places, not if it's a formal setting. LinkedIn is more formal, and your bio, as I said last week, should be like a CV. So it's going to need to be third person, but you can watch the video from last week. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, now we're going to go to Yvonne. She sent me a lot of options here. And this is the bio I changed. Okay. And you'll notice I ended up shortening it a good bit simply because you had a lot of extra words, and you had some instances where you were repeating things. Okay. You did a good job of starting with your name, but for me personally, one of the things you want to remember is your bio should be conversational. Folks, learn to use contractions. If someone asks you what you do not say, I am a writer. You say, I'm a writer. Okay. Your bio should reflect that. All right, so Yvonne Ortega walks with a small footprint, leaving a giant imprint in the lives of those she meets, as opposed to, but leaves a giant imprint in people's lives. People's lives is a lot of S's. So lives of those she meets, okay? Then I went to, within this power-packed package is a professional speaker who offers encouragement, support, and accountability. Because again, you have a really long sentence here. There's your sentence. Okay. So that makes it really hard to follow, particularly when you're reading. Okay. So I broke it up. Within this power, I have the encouragement, support, and accountability here. And then I have her passion to help women who face challenges move forward and live to the fullest has endeared her to thousands. She has spoken to thousands throughout her speaking career. She's written to thousands. So that is fine. Then we go on to talking about writing. Okay. So we've got the speaking, we've got her audience. And then as a gifted instructor, she helps those who speak and write make connections and find community. So I wanted to pull that out as a
I got a frozen screen here. Is it happening to anyone else?
Yeah.
Yes. Edie froze.
Same.
Edie, if you can hear us, your video froze.
Yep, I think we did lose Edie.
Maybe we'll give her a few minutes. Maybe she'll have to go off and come back on. Does she know she's frozen? I don't know if you got her to text message her, Melissa, one of the two. We'll get it back
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
We can sing da 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 da. It's stuff that's happened. Talk about technology. We talked about technology at the beginning of this.
Well, Sandra asked
How
about
that happened when I was at the beginning of, oh, go ahead.
Answered the question, so I thought Rhonda might want to answer it for
Oh,
everybody.
and what is that?
How to shorten a hyperlink.
Okay, I put it in the chat.
Yes.
The most email programs, I use Microsoft Outlook. When you highlight the text and click on that, make a link, it will give you an option. This is the text that shows, and then this is the hyperlink. And when you get that correct, then it does what Edie showed you, like she had ediemelson.com. She highlighted that. When she clicked the link to link it, then what I do is just be sure there's no mistakes. I go out to my website. I hyperlink the link. I copy the link to my homepage and I paste it in where it says link. So, it is a little bit complicated, but it is well worth it. Edie's right that I get real distracted when I see these big long hyperlinks. And it helps people just keep reading. And then if they want to click on the hyperlink, they can.
Yeah.
If not, they just don't, right?
It looks so much neater just to have the name
It
and not
does.
HTTP and all of that. So
It does.
Yeah, I use it. And if you want people to go to your website as well, it's smart to put like mnstro.com versus Melissa's website and hyperlink that, because that way people can actually read the hyperlink and it will help plug into the brain as well.
Yeah, I was feeling a little silly about that because I know better. I do it on my website, but I didn't even think about doing it on my bio that I entered.
yeah.
Edie did respond. She says, I'm hopping on my hotspot. So she's
Okay.
attempting to get back.
I will say one other thing while I can.
Okay.
It's really great information Edie's giving us. Really, I encourage every writer to get an email that's your domain. Edie@ediemelson.com. Rhonda@dragomirgroup.com. When you're using Gmail or Outlook or some other email as your professional email, it's just like a beautiful piece of copper that doesn't shine, right? You really want it to shine. And so that email, most web hosts will let you have a professional email box for free. If you're like, well, I don't want to have to log in and check it, forward all your email to your Gmail box. And then when you respond, be sure it responds from your professional email address. It's a little detail, but I think it makes a big difference.
I have my name reserved as a domain name. I never use it because no one can ever spell it right.
Well, if that's the case, Catherine, and I recommend to a lot of my website clients that they register the misspelled domains.
Yeah,
I'm
Steve
looking-
Lobby.
Mhm.
Steve Lobby has Steve Lobby,
Oh, I also have it, yes.
LAUBE.com. He also has Steve LOBBY.com. So
Yeah, unfortunately, there are 4 ways to spell my last name and 4 ways to spell my first name. Those are just the ones I know about. But that last S in Swartz is what trips everyone. They can be going fine until they get to that last letter and then they hit Z almost on reflex.
I agree with Rhonda. I came in at the last minute. I do agree that you should have a professional email account, but in the meantime, or if it frustrates you, you can also, I have Edie Melson author at Gmail and I have Edie G Melson at Gmail. Don't have hot grandma at hotmail.com. I'm sorry, that came across my desk at a writers conference several years ago. Not a good idea. Not the image you want to convey. All right, let's get back on track because I have a lot to share. Okay. Right. So I'm not sure where I crashed and burned.
We were talking about Yvonne's bio.
Yes, I don't know where in her bio I crashed and burned. That's what I meant. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm gonna share my whole screen again. Okay, let's see. So we have here that I put her women's ministry stuff in a couple of sentences, and then I went on to her writing stuff and added those in a separate sentence. And then I added some of her credibility. You remember I said, if you don't have a degree, don't mention degrees. If you do have a degree and it's relevant, mention it. This is relevant. Okay, so this is basically, it talks about her book, but it also gives her credibility. Then I tweaked her ending. Her ending was, she celebrates life at the beach where she walks, builds sand castles, blows bubbles and dancing, etc. I combined that with this last one. Yvonne chooses to celebrate life. often on the beach where she walks, builds sand castles, blows bubbles, and dances. Her idea of camping is an air-conditioned suite with a private bathroom. You go, girl. I totally get that. And then you can find Yvonne on her Amazon page, through Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and at YvonneOrtega.com. Do you see how much cleaner that is than this? It makes a big difference. Okay. So basically what I did is I tightened it. I reorganized it so that the reader could follow it without getting lost in a massive sentence. And it ended up shortening in the process, but I still think it's a great bio. Okay. Any questions about Yvonne's? All right. We are going to move on because we do have a lot to cover. All right. Here is Norma's. Let's see. Oh, general notes. The bio on your website is difficult to read. Let me show you what I mean by that. It's not as difficult on your full-blown website, but this is what it looks like. Come on, come up. This is what it looks like on my phone. Okay, you have low contrast. You don't have black on white, and you have it written in basic letter style formatting. So there's no place for, as I'm getting into this is my phone that you're looking at right here. I suddenly have a screen full of text. What are we going to do with that? Usually, if we see a screen full of text on our phone, we're going to click away. So you're not going to see it. So I recommend that, especially if you have a script font, that you use block formatting. In truth, you should always use block formatting when you are doing something online. Block formatting, in case you don't remember, is no indentions and a blank line between paragraphs. I am certain that Norma's idea was to make this read like a letter and look like a letter from her. And I think that's a great concept. I think just using the script style font does that, but your concept is always trumped by readability. And this is not readable. It is very difficult to read. So I would strongly urge you to make sure that you are formatting it with no indentions and with an extra space between lines. All right, I see Norma raised her hand. Speak, Norma.
I apologize ahead of time for loud noise. I have 4 grandchildren, 4 and under here. But anyway, so Edie, would you suggest then that I change that to a regular font and maybe make it black, or?
Nope. I think if you keep it, because your font size, it compensates. Even on my phone, you'll notice I can read that. But what makes it harder to read is the fact that it's not block formatting. Okay. So I think that you can keep the same colors, the same font, but change it to block formatting so that I can read it.
And should I shorten it? Is it too long?
I don't know that you would necessarily shorten it. You could look at it after you look at what I did with your bio. Okay. But the big thing is the formatting. That's what I was focusing on. And I apologize if it got lost in the other, but there are times when you want that script font, you want a nod to this is a letter from me, but you've got to make sure that you compensate and make it readable.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we're going to go here. This is, let's see. Okay, so this was her 50-word bio, and these, we can see it all on this screen, so I'm not going to copy it over. Okay, so What I put, I don't care as the reader that you're an award-winning author and co-host and everything. I want to know you. So I started with Norma Poor has lived through difficult circumstances and now allows her journey to fill her encouragement for those who are hurting. I pulled that from some of this letter. So I apologize, but there was nothing in here, or there was very little in here that was just focused on your reader. There's this one thing right here. She writes inspirational nonfiction with transparency and hope. That's sort of a nod to that, but you need, I changed that here. I moved it up higher. Her inspirational nonfiction is penned with honest transparency and filled with hope from God's word. As a respected member of the publishing community, she's an award-winning author, co-host of Writers Chat, and editing manager of Almost an Author. And so again, I would hyperlink Writers Chat, I would hyperlink Almost an Author, and then I didn't change your Norma Poor, I just capitalized it. Okay. And I see you already did, you did hyperlink Almost an Author. So you did that. Okay. Does that make sense to everybody? Any questions? Norma, your hand's still up. You might want to put your hand down.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I forget.
Thank you,
too.
Edie.
All right, here is Sally's bio. Sally's not with us, but she's going to watch this. Sally's, let's see, let me minimize that. Here is Sally's short bio with my suggestion. Again, she's telling us where she lives before she's telling us who she is. As for me, as the reader, I am less interested in that. I think it's interesting that she lives on the Space Coast, but I'm not as interested in that as I am about who she is as a person. So I rearranged it. Married for the first time at 50, writes with humor to give hope to the longing heart. Calling the Space Coast of Florida home. She's prior military and now a bookkeeper, budget counselor, and multi-genre award-winning author. She also sells her crafts on Etsy. Okay, my question to Sally is, does she write about bookkeeping and budgeting? If she does not, this has no place in her bio unless it plays a large part in her writing. Then your readers are not going to care that she's a bookkeeper and budget counselor. Okay. And this is what I did with her longer bio. I'm going to move this over here and we're going to look. Okay. So here's her longer bio, and this is what I condensed it to on the right. Okay. I have it that she writes with humor to give hope to the longing heart. As a prior member of the military, she found herself on an ISIS kill list, but is now trying to live a quieter life, marrying for the first time at age 50. Okay. Whether she's writing for those waiting for a spouse, children, or spiritually lost loved ones, she weaves hope and humor into nearly every story, including her blog, Hope in the Waiting, and I would hyperlink that. She's a multi-genre award-winning author who's completed 2 fiction books, her first adult murder suspense novel and humorous self-help book on menopause. She also enjoys writing shorter works of fiction and articles. Okay, so there's a list of what Sally is writing. Now we have the list again. Okay, we don't need the list a second time. That's redundant, and it sort of tells our audience that we think they're idiots. And I know that is not Sally's heart. So what I suggested was, starting right here, sequel to her first murder suspense novel based around the Kennedy Space Center, and other projects that reflect her diverse reading habits. Okay, because we've already got all of this stuff here. Does that make sense to everybody? Somebody nod at me so I know you can actually tell what I'm doing. All right, now I can't move this over. Come on, go away. Go away, please. All right, we'll do this again. Let's see. And then I have it changed. I changed this one. Let's see. She's the social director of the Florida Christian Writers Conference. Hyperlink that, hyperlink word weavers. And I left this in when she's not bookkeeping, budget counseling, or writing. She enjoys spending time with friends, scrapbooking, and doing crafts, which she sells on Etsy. And then you can, and then I included her website because her website is not on here. You'll notice. Okay. All right, come on. I really want this thing to go away. There we go. Sorry, talk to mine. Any questions about Sally's?
Sandra asked about social media links. You know, we've included their website links. So they go to the website and then from there they go to social media links, or?
Your social media link should be prominent on every page of your website, and particularly the homepage. They should be up at the top where you can see them. The idea being that anytime anybody wants to find out anything about you, your website is the place to go. So
what do you think about using Linktree for like all of your socials in addition to your website?
You can do that. Absolutely. I use Linktree in Instagram. It works well for that, but on your website, I would have the individual links because a lot of people don't know what Linktree is.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a great option. Okay, let's see. All right, now let's go to Sandra's. Sandra, dear sweet Sandra, you're the one who didn't have your name in here. You had your first name a couple of places, but I had to go back to my email to try to find you. So please, 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 ladies and gentlemen, remember that you need your name prominently in your bio, your full name. Okay. So here is how it starts. With a personal goal to pray often, inspire others, create beauty, Sandra pins articles. Okay. So I changed this to Sandra Chambers' personal goal is to pray often, inspire others, create beauty. From this foundation, she pins, Sandra pins, I think I would change that to she. She pins articles, books, etc. That encourage Christians in their walk with God. Okay. So I got that from this sentence here. She has a passion to help kids understand how much God loves them. This was clunky. She has a passion to help kids understand how uniquely created and loved by God they are, and to help them discover their God-given purpose in life. So I changed that. I broke it down. She has a passion to help kids understand how much God loves them. She highlights how each of us is unique and encourages them to discover their God-given purpose in life. Her award-winning study, Lord, It's Boring on My Prayer Closet, How to Revitalize Your Prayer Life, comes from her personal practice as a prayer warrior and prayer encourager. So I've got that she's a prayer warrior and prayer encourager and an author. I just rearranged it, showing that she's writing out of what God is doing in her life. Okay. As a teacher and writer for most of her professional life, Sandra taught English, journalism, and special ed in both private and public schools. Okay. She writes children's stuff. That means that this training of what she did in her previous life is relevant. So that's why I left that in there. Now a journalist and writer, Sandra has published hundreds of news profiles, travel, and lifestyle stories for various publications. She also writes nonfiction and children's picture books. All right. She already talked about up here that she has a passion for kids to help kids understand how much God loves them. That tells me she's a children's author. So you don't need to restate that. Sandra lives in let's see, I kept all of this, but there's nothing here. None of her bio does not give us her website. There is no way for me to connect with Sandra more fully anywhere. So I said, connect with her further on social media and I didn't have time. I couldn't even find your website, Sandra. So those are my suggestions from Sandra's. Again, I love her tagline, pray often, inspire others, create beauty. I think that's great, but be sure that you let people know who you are and how they can learn more. All right, any questions from that?
None so far. Lots of comments. Really loving what you're doing with it. It's really good.
Okay, so here is Laura Lee. Okay, this is what she has originally. And I loved Laura Lee. I don't know whether you go by two names or one. I apologize. I should know, but I don't. There's a lot of Christianese in this bio, and the internet it's not divided. There's going to be people who read your bio who don't understand what wearing a silver crown of glory means. They may picture you in a tiara. Okay. So I took that out just simply because it can be a little over the top for people who are not believers, or even people who come from more conservative denominations. I can think of several Presbyterians in my history who would just fall over dead if I claimed to wear a silver crown of glory, because they would think I had become Pentecostal, which is wrong, but there are people who just jump to that. So what I changed it to is Laura Lee Leathers, a woman of faith, loves to touch lives through words. Okay. Encouraging others through biblical hospitality and flowers from her garden. Everyone is welcome. I would love to see you expand a little on hospitality. That play on words makes me think that you love tea parties and all that goes with being gifted in the spiritual sense with hospitality. But if that's not what it's leading me to, it's a little ambiguous. So I might go a little bit deeper into, if you love tea, maybe state that. But I would go a little bit more than that. I would change that to sorry, missed that one. She's an award-winning writer, author, and speaker. Okay, what's the difference between a writer and an author? That is redundant to people who are not in the industry. Okay, so pick one, writer or author. As a freelance writer, her current assignments include, and she has that, and her passion is to offer a cup of encouragement, pouring truth into your soul through teaching and sharing God's word. Connect with her on her website, and that is hyperlinked. Instead of on her website, I would say on lauraleeleathers.com and hyperlink that. And then you have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Okay. Does that make sense? All right. Okay. Here we go, Jean. You said I could do it, so I did it. I went there. All right. So these are my suggestions, and I shortened yours a good bit because a lot of it was redundant. Okay, you can see I shortened it a lot. Okay, so here's your longer one. Jean is a writer, speaker, and retreat leader and spiritual director. She's a contributing author. I say, these are what you do. Your writers want to know who you are. Jean, you are so precious. Don't tell me what you do. Don't give me your resume. Show people. This is what I changed. Jean Wise nurtures vibrant, healthy spirituality in everyone she meets, modeling it in her life through her writing and as a speaker. Discovering the ability of caring for others through her years as a nurse, she now uses that gift as she helps others grow closer to God. See, I got all the info about you being a nurse that is relevant to your writing career in that one little sentence. We don't need to know that you have an RN with a master's in nursing. I think that's great. And if you're writing for a nursing publication, you want to do that. But I think this is really enough. I don't need the extra amount. She is a contributing author. That's not contributor. It should be contributing author for devotional books and an avid blogger at healthyspirituality.org. She also co-hosts Writers Chat, a weekly gathering of writers online. Okay. Let's see. Where did I get that from? I just rearranged your stuff all over the place. I got this about nursing right here. I took that from that. And I guess I got this from I moved all of this information down in your bio. Then I talk about the fact that you're a deacon at your church, that you live in Eden, Ohio, and enjoy their empty nest as their 3 adult children have flown the coop. You restate this. Jean loves books so much her hubby thinks she has too many. She believes that if you cannot be well read, at least be well bought. Bring on more bookshelves. I tightened that to Jean believes, much to her husband's dismay, that if you cannot be well read, at least be well bought. Bring on more bookshelves. Okay.
Thank you. I think that sounds wonderful. I don't know who this lady is, but I kind of like her.
I like her a lot. And I think this is way more of who you are than what you had. My question to you was, do you use your nursing degree in your writing and or speaking? If not, you don't need that in depth about that. Okay.
Okay. It depends on the situation, but yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I would format it on the situation. A lot of times I don't use, say, the nursing one, but
right. But I think the nursing is relevant because it's where it gives people, oh, she's like a spiritual nurse now. Do you see it brings that? So I think it's relevant. How deep you go depends on the situation.
And the other situation I found out that it helps is when this is used as an intro locally, because people locally still remember me I was in a very visible position in the county as a nurse. And so they see me that way, and that ties it to where I am now. But really to send it to a publisher right now probably doesn't need that.
Yep, that makes sense. All right. I see one hand raised. Catherine?
Perhaps this is just personal opinion. I don't care for the phrase "well bought." It sounds like someone bought you, or that you bought anything. And I have plenty of books myself, some read and some not, but a lot of them are giveaways, not strictly bought.
Again, that would be personal preference. Jean will have to decide if she likes that turn of phrase or not, or now that you brought it up, she may want to ask a bunch of people and see if it bothers anybody else. It doesn't bother me, but absolutely, I love the idea of buying books, and that's a very succinct way to say it. There may be better ways to say it.
Well, if it were me, I would say well stocked or well supplied.
Yep, absolutely. And that is a good option. Again, that would be the word choices there are going to be personal. So great suggestion. Yvonne, you have your hand up. You're muted, Yvonne.
Can you hear me now?
We can.
All right. I had a question about the well bought also, because I looked at that, and as one who works with women who in some cases were bought, that just jumped right off the page at me. And I said, whoa, maybe there's a different choice.
Yep, absolutely. That is a great thought. But that is something that Jean will have to run by those that she trusts. Obviously, she trusts this group. And that's why a group like this is really good, because we don't always see what we're saying from everybody's perspective. So good points. Okay. Any other thoughts? All right. We are on the last one. This would be Rachel's. Okay. Let me pull my suggestions here. Okay. One of the things we talked about last week a little bit was the fact that Rachel started with that she's Jamaican born, award-winning writer instead of who she is. She kind of went where she's from and where she lives now. So I changed that. And again, it's a personal preference. She may want to, it may figure so strongly in her platform and in her connection with her audience that it makes sense. These are just my suggestions. Okay. So caveat here. Rachel M. Colby has a heart for reconciliation and a passion to uplift those who serve in tough places, as she writes to connect culture's questions with Christianity's answers. Oh my gosh, what a great turn of phrase. Culture's questions with Christianity's answers. That is fantastic. Then I put this in. It's in the second sentence. As a Jamaican-born, award-winning author, her work inspires faith and motivates through articles, devotions, and poetry. Okay, so I have it all in there. I just rearranged it. And again, you've got your name at the very front of that first sentence. Then I don't think I changed anything in this section. Now, one of the things that we recommend to authors, especially if you have issues with word count or something like that, pick one or two big ones, what you consider the biggest ones or the most relevant to your audience that will be reading this, and say, her work has appeared in various publications, including, and pick one or two. Okay. And so you don't have to always include all of them, but this is her long bio, so it's fine, but that's just a suggestion. Okay. Then I went on to start this paragraph again with a connection point with her reader. This wife, mom, beach bum, artist, and work in progress makes her home in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. You can connect with Rachel on her website and on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Rachel runs on copious amounts of coffee and chocolate and a whole lot of help me Jesus. Again, I would hyperlink Twitter to your Twitter, Facebook to your profile, Instagram to your profile. Okay. Any questions here on this one? Is Rachel on today?
Yes, I am on. I
Okay.
scrambled back up here. I had an interruption at the door. Sorry about that. Thank you.
That's okay.
You're amazing.
Well, I don't know about that. I've just done this a lot.
Right.
Let's see. Yeah. And I didn't critique any of the smaller ones.
Right.
Okay. One of the things that we want to remember again is to keep the bios relevant, and relevant means relevant to our audience, and our audience is looking for connections. We live in a world right now where we are sick and tired of shallow connections.
Amen.
And one of the things we want to do as writers, whether it's through our books or our social media or even our bio or our sig line, is we want to be transparent enough so that we invite people to know us more. So we are stating subliminally that we're not after a shallow connection, because we have given some of ourselves. We have shared things about ourselves. And so we're basically setting the level of connectivity that we're hoping for. So that's another reason why our bios need to read more conversationally and more about who we are than necessarily where we live, what our accomplishments are, things like that. All right. Questions, comments. I feel like I've run a vocal marathon.
I bet you have.
It was great.
It's amazing.
We got maybe just a minute before we kind of conclude. Does anybody have a last minute question that they want to put in? Then,
Oh, yeah.
Dawn, what do you think?
This was phenomenal, and I learned a lot from the different types of bios that were done. I did have one question. I tried that Yvonne at YvonneOrtega.com, and I had it going to my Gmail, and sometimes it would be hours before it would get there.
Yes. The closer you are to the person you're sending to, the longer the email takes. If somebody's in the room and I send them an email, it's going to take 5 or 10 minutes, as opposed to me sending you an email in North Carolina or Virginia. It'll come almost instantaneously.
Wow.
And yes, when you're forwarding, it just gets more convoluted. That's why I said you can have that email for your business cards, for your professional emails. If you're having issues, at least make sure you have a professional sounding one on Gmail. There are some places and some publishers who have a firewall that will keep Gmail out and free email services. So you want to be very careful about that. Rhonda, did you have something?
Yes.
And Sophia raised her hand. So keep it quick.
Quickly, an alternative to having your email forwarded is to use an email program like Microsoft Outlook, where I can list my accounts separately and they come directly into that account and not dumped all into one giant email box.
Yep, that's a great option. Okay,
Sophia?
Yes.
Sophia, quick question.
How about humor in these? I tend to be a joker anyway, usually. And so I throw in there that after X years of marriage, X kids, and numerous pets, I'm proud to say I still fit into my college earrings.
See, I think that's great. That is absolutely wonderful. I think that is definitely your voice and who you are, and it gives people an expectation. And I don't know, immediately I want to go have coffee with you and be your friend. Seriously. So
It shows personality,
yeah. So I think humor is great. There are some of us who need to be careful because our humor comes out as snarky when it's written. So, ask people. All right, anybody else have a question?
Just might include the topic too and what you're going for. I have a friend who works with a lot of people that have been sexually abused or raped. And she's very, very careful on that.
Yes, that would not be an appropriate place for humor.
I think because it's been the hour, we'll probably start doing some wrapping up while the recording's still going. First, we're going to turn it to Brandy to tell us what we have next week, so everybody can hear that.
Yeah, next week we have Agent Chip McGregor with us, and he will be sharing with us on the topic of understanding literary contracts, which is extremely helpful if you don't have an agent, and even if you do have an agent, it's still extremely helpful. It's a show you want to be here if at all possible, and if you can't, definitely watch the replay.
Yeah. And as we wrap this up, Edie, I want to say thank you one more time. This was priceless, absolutely priceless for you to give up, not just come once, but to come twice and to do all this personal examples like this. It has just been phenomenal.
Well, I love to do this. And so consider having me back sometime. I absolutely adore this. I am going to do a short little plug.
Please.
It probably won't happen until January, but I am working on creating a YouTube channel that is like a video version of the Right Conversation, where I can do more things like this, and it'll be totally free, just like the Right Conversation. So that's what I'm working on next for writers.
Yay.
How exciting. And if any of you don't get that Right Conversation, it's an email that I open each time.
Oh, thank you.
Every time. It's just, it's always good writing there, and good resources and good examples. And I love the community and the information that's there. It is an excellent.
Yep. And today is Yvonne's day. So her blog post is today. She's a regular columnist for me. So today is her day. Great stuff.
Yeah. And thank you, as Rhonda says, for being so generous with your time and your talent and your gifts from God. We really appreciate that. Edie, thank you so much. Johnny, Brenda, Melissa, anything else before we sign off from but thank you for being with us today. Those of you, I really hope you spent the time watching the replay. Those of you that were with us live, I think we got to agree this is one of the best ones we've had. This has been great today. And so appreciate the encouragement and the guidance that we got today. And we'll see you all next week on Writers Chat. Bye now.